power of this technology goes so far beyond what like the typical like table conversation about VR gives it credit for. You know, like we talk about it as like a useful tool or an immersive, fun experience, but what we're talking about is like truly transformational.
It should be perfectly possible to trick your brain into any experience if your brain can already do that itself naturally. So VR is almost like taking that ability for our brain to generate any experience for us and like putting it in our hands, which is wild.
Man, that's something in the history books. People are going to look back and be like, yeah, 2022, 2023. That's when education, after hundreds of years, finally upgraded.
We're in a strange time where our physical worlds are intersecting with our digital identities, and right now is a time to kind of determine what you want that to be.
Once you have full body tracking that works well and it's frictionless, right? Meaning it's easy to do.
Yes.
It's a whole new, it's not a game changer, it's a whole new game.
So maybe there will be some other people who would be curious to see what I'm learning, what I'm discovering, so to say. And that's how the Discover YouTube channel started.
Oh, not really disco VR, Discover.
Oh.
Yeah, I feel bad when people ask me about VR, or they're like, what do you do? Like, all right, you asked, here it comes.
I love VR, but I love going out and breathing fresh air. And not only was I stuck in VR for 10 days, I was stuck in one room because I was streaming, the same space. I didn't see the sunlight. I totally lost track of what time everything was.
She dances with the robot. She does the first steps. She dances with that robot. She takes that thing off her face. I have the video. I'm holding it hostage. She takes it off her head and she says, I gotta have it.
There are a few moments in my life I can remember very vividly. The day I got married, the day my kids were born, the day Facebook announced that they bought Oculus is one of those days. I was making chili.
I've been in a lot of gaming communities, and the VR community is by far the best community that I've ever been involved with.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Between Realities VR podcast, the only podcast where we start without our headphones plugged in. Thank you for joining us. It is Friday, and it is October 27th, and we are live on YouTube, as that's where we do our live broadcasts. And we're really excited and stoked to have you here for our final our final episode of the season with a guest. Yeah.
I mean, we do have guests on the last episode as well.
Well, that's true.
It's the community.
Yes.
All of these wonderful people here.
Amen. Yeah. Which I feel like this year is going to be a little different because we've kind of like prepared a little differently for that in the past, and I don't see that happening this season.
Yeah.
So we'll talk about that a little bit later.
Yeah, see what happens.
But thank you all for joining us. My name is Alex. I am one half of this Between Realities crew, and the other half is sitting here next to me. It's Skiva.
Hey, dude.
What's up, brother?
Hey, man. How are you?
I'm pretty good.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Pretty good. Like, I don't know what else to say, really. Like, things are fine.
That was good.
I got addicted to Gran Turismo.
Oh, that's right. You
can't stop playing it.
Yeah.
It's so much fun. Go get the wheel, get the pedals. I'm a little afraid to start doing manual transmission. Like,
oh, I know.
I don't even.
That changes the game completely.
Insanely.
Yeah, it really does.
I'm like terrified, honestly. But right now, I am just fully enjoying driving my automatic transmission Porsche 911 and just like destroying people. And I'm really, really loving that. So if you've been sleeping on Gran Turismo, maybe check it out. Although I can't vouch for it with the controller, to be honest. Like it's really the wheel and the pedals that makes the experience for me. But yeah, that's what I've been hooked on. What have you been doing in VR, Skiva?
Man, all kinds of stuff. I've been playing, last night I played a lot of Ghostbusters on the Quest 3.
That is,
and I had a blast.
It's a bit of a controversial.
Oh, it totally is.
Title at the moment.
And it is, and I understand why a lot of people are kind of freaking out about it, and not, it can go either way. I had a good time. I think the main problem here is the price, right? If you're going to charge, it's on Sony's website right now for like $55. If you're going to charge that for a game, it should be Half-Life Alyx, you know what I mean? Like Half-Life Alyx was $60, right? Yeah. So I don't know. I don't know what they're doing there. I feel like anytime Sony gets involved with a launch or puts out a game or hires a studio, it's been botched lately. Firewall Ultra was a good, another good example of that. So I don't know exactly what they're doing, but in Dreams, I love In Dreams, and they make great games, and this game is pretty fun. It just doesn't have a lot of meat on the bones. Like, you might get bored pretty quick unless they come through and they continue to add maps and modes, which they might do, but they haven't really said anything, so nobody knows, right?
Man, yeah, and the biggest thing that I've noticed is just that there seems to be this correlation between content creators and game reviewers having access to a game ahead of the release versus not, because it almost seems like every single time our YouTuber buddies go to get access to a game and they can't, it ends up being for a reason.
Oh yeah.
And that reason being it's not as good as maybe it should be, and they don't want reviews to be ready on day one. That kind of thing.
That's exactly right. And Sony too, right? So Sony has this on PSVR 2, and you cannot get a refund on PlayStation VR 2. So if you buy it before you hear a review, you're stuck with it. They got your money. Too bad. Move on.
That is super crazy. I love the Steam and Oculus Store.
Me too.
Refund policies. I think those are fantastic. You pop in, and if you realize in the first 10 minutes that this is not for you, no harm, no foul.
Refund it, exactly. But Sony is like, nope, too bad, so sad, which is wild to me. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't really give people that, that sense of security when purchasing from them.
Dude, it must be just a pure numbers game. They're like, hey, listen, when we don't give refunds, we make $50 million more a year. Come on, brother. Let's just not do that. And everyone in the meeting's like, yeah, you're right. No, I like $50 million.
Yeah. Well, either way, this game had a lot of potential. It's missing a lot of things, like where is Slimer? Where are all of the things that made Ghostbusters? They're not there. There's all new characters, none of the things that that people really held on to and loved about Ghostbusters is present in this game, which is a bummer. That being said, I was in there for hours and hours with friends, and I had a blast. I don't know how long that'll last. I don't know how many more times I can do that because we've gone through a lot of the content, but it'll be at least one more play session. Yeah. Is that $55 worthy? I'm not sure, but
no. Well, no.
But I am enjoying it for what it's worth.
It's not just $55 worth. It's your whole party paying $55
Yes,
worth.
This is true.
That's like $300. It's like $250 worth, as opposed to going to a LBE experience. Cause that's kind of what I always try to imagine. It's like, what if my friends and I went to an LBE and we got some time together and we played a VR game together? Would it be worth the $20, $30, $40? That is kind of where I try to go. But then when you think it requires all of those people to pay the price of admission to get into it, now it starts to get pretty expensive. So.
Yeah, this is true. So I don't know what to recommend to people. It's a pretty expensive game, and if they came out and said, hey, kind of like After the Fall did, where they said, hey, we're going to be adding campaigns to this every once in a while, we're going to add new weapons, we're going to add new attachments, then I'd say, oh, this is probably worth it. But I don't know, because they just haven't said anything. So I don't know where this game is going.
Quick shout out to our audio listeners right now. You're unaware that I am currently wearing a super badass After the Fall.
Yeah, you are.
It's really awesome. Yeah, it's technically not cold enough in Arizona for me to be wearing this, but I don't care. I'm like, you know what? It's almost November. I'm putting this hoodie on. Damn it.
Man, I flip by that hoodie all the time in my closet, and mine does not fit me because I'm a big dude, and it just doesn't work right.
It's embroidered. I
know.
These letters are embroidered on here, and high quality too.
I love that hoodie, and and like I said to you before, mine has embroidered on it Dev Team because I work there, and I had a lot of input on some of the things that happened in the game. So I do have a Dev Team hoodie that I can't wear, and it makes me super sad.
Man.
But yeah, man, I love After the Fall. I went in there just last week, and we had a few runs, and we just had so much fun, man. We had so much
After the fall is amazing, dude.
It really is.
And it really is. And kind of like to your point earlier, like, yo, I jumped into Ghostbusters and I had a great time with my friends. Like, multiplayer gaming in VR, bro. Like, if you've got a squad, if you've got a crew, like, that's where it's at. And I'm sure we'll be getting into that a little bit because today's episode will definitely be all about some multiplayer VR gaming. But before we get into it and introduce today's guest, I do want to take a moment to say a quick hello to everyone who is joining us here for the YouTube live broadcast on YouTube Live here on Friday, October 27th, 2023. Jeff Rayner is the first to my chat today. He is an absolute homie.
Jeff Rayner. I miss Jeff. What an awesome dude.
Me too. You can
legend.
actually catch a glimpse of Jeff in our episode's intro, which is pretty cool, talking about full body tracking.
Yeah, that's right.
Qcreator's here. He says the weekend. He's never been wrong about it.
He has not.
Obscure Nerd VR in the house. Andy Southern.
What's up, Andy?
Also does a podcast on Fridays. After Between Realities. So
nice. Yeah, go check that out. Andy is a funny dude and makes amazing content.
He is obscure.
Yep, he is. And a nerd.
Indeed. Butter Something's here saying another banger's incoming.
Hey.
Yep, that's true.
What's up, Butter Something?
Hussein X in the house. What's up, bro?
Hey, Hussein.
Good to see you. Little Duggars K sliding in here with us. Merry weekend, one and all. Thank you, Duggars. ePilot 007 saying spooktacular weekend. It is a spooktacular weekend.
It is. We're coming up on Halloween.
I will play Resident Evil 8.
You should, man.
8. Yeah,
you should. It takes a while to really get into like when that game gets terrifying, but my God, does it get scary? It is so good. Scared. It's just such a good game. For me to push myself through a horror game, it's a good game.
Did you play Propagation Paradise Hotel?
I did.
Should I do that instead or first or?
You can't replace Resident Evil, bro. Okay. Resident Evil is.
But Paradise Hotel's multiplayer.
It's great. Yeah, it is. It is very. It's pretty good. I mean, it's nowhere near Resident Evil,
Fair enough.
Do you know what I mean?
Fair enough.
But it's good. It is good. I had fun in it.
Sweet. Red/Ace, that's Peter. What's up, bro? Good to see you, man.
What's up, Peter?
He's the haptic homie.
Heck yeah.
Destity11 says, hey, guys. What's up?
Hello.
Laszlo216, Cleveland Heights represent.
What's up, Laszlo? How's it going?
Absolutely, man. Ryamu VR, let's go. Let's go. Jenna say qua. What's up, y'all?
Hey, Jenna.
Good to see you. Amelia Faust is here saying yay for Cleveland.
Heck yeah. What's up, Amelia?
An OG Between Realities fan, Glitch fan Dango.
Oh, Glitch. I love me some Glitch Fandango.
Me too.
That's for sure.
Go do yourself a favor and check out Sixth Off Reviews if you know it's good for you.
Yep.
Ryan B's here.
Hey, Ryan.
Saying it's a great way to end a long week.
Yeah.
A long 2 weeks, bro, because we didn't do Between Realities last week.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
It makes me sad.
That's right.
I know. It's like seems crazy that we took a week off coming back for this, and then last episode is next week.
I know.
Chris Hanney's here.
What's up, Chris?
Pirate Homie.
Heck yeah. Space Pirate Homie. I love it. That should be that should be another game.
Yeah, it's like the Grand Theft. It's like the answer to Grand Theft Auto in the Space Pirate universe. Space Pirate Homie. Lamfords is here. What's up, yo? Good to see you, Lamfords. Richie. It's Richie from Richie's Plank Experience.
Hey, what's up, Richie? How are you?
Yes, the developers.
Thanks for coming.
Toast VR. Check out Max Mustard flying in hot.
Heck yeah, man. I'm so stoked for that game. I can't even tell you.
I am playing that game this weekend, I promise. Space Denizen is here. What's up, man? Good to see you.
Hey, what's up, dude? How are you, boy?
A little Mind Jive as well.
Hello.
A little Kensei Gaming. He's here in Arizona with us.
Hey, what's up, Kensei? Good to see you, buddy.
Yeah, dude. He's the homie. As well as Samson 143 VR.
Samson. What's up, buddy?
Yep. I want to talk to Samson. And I think, that's pretty much about everybody. If I missed you, please don't hate me. But I think we've got everybody who is here with us before we introduce today's guest.
Yeah. Oh, before we do, I do want to give a shout out to Rough Talk VR. I got to. So I was out last week because I had to go to Boston, take care of some family things. And while I was there, I remembered that Rough Talk is there. So I hit those guys up. And we hung out and we had a blast, man. We just had such a good time talking about everything from, VR to life, and even went to go visit a VR studio and hang out a little bit with some people that make the stuff we love. So it was a good time.
That's awesome.
And those guys are genuinely awesome people. So check out Rough Talk.
That's really, really good. No, Max Mustard is not out yet, Chris Hanney. I just maybe have access to it.
Yep.
That's really cool. I'm definitely jealous of that. I wish I could have hung out with you guys. I'm assuming you guys talked about me for the majority of your time together.
Almost the entire time.
Good.
Yep.
As long as that's the case, that's That's fine.
Yes.
So yeah, we kind of touched on multiplayer gaming during our little introduction here, and there's not a lot of VR multiplayer titles that have the staying power and the just like fervent community that Pavlov has.
Right.
Pavlov has been here from some of the early days of VR, and we have been watching first-person shooters in VR come and go for years, but everybody seems to go back to Pavlov.
You know why?
Well,
because it's awesome.
that's a simple answer.
It is.
Is that it is
that
awesome.
It is.
But to learn a little bit more about why that is, and maybe to discuss the upcoming official Quest store, we have someone from the Pavlov team joining us. So it's very, very exciting.
Man, I love this show.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's such good guests.
We really do. All right, so let's get him in here. Everybody, please help me welcome to Between Realities from the Pavlov team at Vankrupt Games. It's Mr. Will Cloxton. Hello, Will. Thank you for joining us.
Hey, how's it going, y'all?
Yo, good to see you, man.
Yeah, thanks for coming.
Good to see
Appreciate you.
Yeah, glad to be here.
Oh, dude. Well, it's a pretty exciting time for you and your team. As I mentioned in our intro, there is an upcoming Quest release for Pavlov. Is that Pavlov Shack that's coming out, or is it Pavlov that's coming out? Can you tell us a little bit about it?
Yes, so we have two different distinctions. So right now, Pavlov proper is the PC and PS5 version. Pavlov Shack is a mobile version. We separate the two out because they are not crossplay. Reason why we do that is because we produce high quality maps and assets that are not, they would not run well in mobile. And so we don't want to compromise the high-end experience in order to have crossplay. That's always been sort of our philosophy, and it's been sort of a lot of pros and cons to that, right? You don't have access to friends playing against cross-platform, but at the same time, we feel like the high-end VR should have high-end experiences, and you can't really offer that when it comes to crossplay, especially when it comes to asset fidelity. Just getting into the weeds of it, I apologize if I'm just like.
Let's just dive straight into this. I love it, Will. Let's go.
So, like, I'll give an example. Like a multiplayer map, we can add way more props and assets and meshes and materials in a PSVR 2 or a PC title that would just not run well in mobile. And so if we tried to have crossplay, then we would end up having, maps that on the mobile side would be missing props that the PC side would be seeing those props. So ideally, in a multiplayer environment, you can see why that would be an issue.
Yeah.
So the technology on mobile is just not there yet for being able to match the level of prop and asset fidelity that we're trying to achieve. So if you look at the PC maps, it's way more dense in detail and props as opposed to kind of a mobile version, which might have a lot of that detail kind of removed in order to save on performance. Because, in a multiplayer title, especially in a first-person shooter, performance is paramount. You can't really sacrifice performance because you're just going to run into a lot of issues down the line.
Totally. I mean, and God, man, I can only imagine just like the debate and how long it raged on when you guys are like sitting in the room, like trying to figure out the direction to take this. Because and I mean, you got to tell us, like, did you see Onward and you were like, oh geez, like, oh man? Because I don't know if for those of you who don't understand, Onward was a PC game, is a PC VR game, great graphics and all of that. And then when the Quest platform came out, Onward's like, yo, we want crossplay between the standalone devices and our PC world. So everyone who was used to these high fidelity images and high fidelity assets and graphics on the PC version woke up one day after the Quest version came out and had everything just completely just downgraded. And it caused a pretty big scene. Like, a lot of people in the Onward community are like, they were up in arms. They're like, yo, our game is trash. The Quest is destroyed. Our favorite game, blah, blah, blah. Like, did you guys see that on the Pavlov team when you were trying to decide and be like, oh man, we don't want to have that happen to our community? Or do you think, or was like what other people do not really a part of the conversation?
Right. So, I mean, we've definitely seen that. It would be hard not to kind of notice, since I guess you can consider us competitors, but we don't really kind of view other titles as competitors in that sense. Like, sure, we're competing on players and just maximizing our player base and trying to keep it as active as possible. But honestly, like with the VR medium, it's more like we're all in it for like the good of the medium. I don't know if many people remember the fervor around 2016 or 2017, but like so many people predicted VR is just going to be dead on arrival. This was before Quest ever happened. So it just like, there's a lot of negativity around VR. They're just like, oh, it's a gimmick. People are going to play it. They're going to throw it in the trash. They've tried to do this before in the 90s. So we're kind of going through that ourselves right now because of our crossplay with PSVR 2. It's very difficult to put mods on the PlayStation platform. So we're trying to find a really good middle ground solution to allow community content onto PlayStation. There's just a lot of weird complications involved with that. And so within our own community, we're kind of experiencing what Onward has gone through, but we kind of, as long as players have kind of faith in us in the future and what we kind of want to do, sure, we're working a little slowly, but it's something that we definitely want to achieve to make a really good high fidelity title on both PC and PSVR 2. But in the same effect, we've seen another title go crossplay, and they didn't receive quite as much backlash. So I'm not sure if that's because Onward was very highly regarded when that situation happened, but another title called Contractors, which they've got a fantastic game going there. I'm not quite sure what they've done for their assets, but they are crossplay now. So you're at the mercy of the minimum specs, so to speak. Like, for example, the Quest 3 came out, and there's a lot we could do for the Quest 3 to make Pavlov greater than before for Pavlov Shack, but we still have a Quest 2 to support. We dropped the Quest 1 support, and that's a very common thing that's been going on the Quest platform. And so it's a really difficult tightrope that you have to walk on, and you're going to have people that are happy about your decisions and upset about your decisions, and we're comfortable with our decisions on what we are trying to achieve.
Mm-hmm. And Pavlov Shack has been available for free on App Lab for a little while now, if I'm not mistaken, right? Like maybe a year
quite
or so?
A long time.
Yes. So that's pretty cool. And you have an official Quest store release coming up. Have we announced when that's happening?
Yes, November 14th. That is going to be the day of days. And I urge you to pre-order now if you want. And I know this sounds like marketing lip service, but you're going to get some really cool stuff. You're going to get 5 unique skins, that one of which will not be available to anyone else. So we're going to have one exclusive pre-order skin. It's going to be animated. And once we launch our cosmetic store, which is not going to be available on launch, but on a later update, that skin will not be for sale. The other 4 skins will be for sale, but there will be one just for the pre-order holders, and that's it. That's the only opportunity you get to have that cosmetic.
That's usually enough.
If you're not into the cosmetics thing, you can save $5.
Yeah.
And we're asking for a $19.99 USD asking price after we launch. We're doing a 25% discount for a pre-order, and I would like to iterate, this is the deepest pre-order discount that the Meta platform has ever seen.
Wow.
They actually told us ourselves. So this is a really good opportunity. If you have $15, if you have $20, go to GameStop. You can buy a Quest. What do you call it? Like a
gift card.
Right. It's pretty easily accessible to convert. We did get some backlash because we've been available for free on App Labs for so long.
Yeah.
A lot of people are upset about that, but at the same time, these are paid developers. We're not volunteers. We're running a business here. Those servers that we've been running for years have been costly to us. It's been running at a loss. We've been subsidizing the players to be able to play for free. So our only ask is, if you're happy with the experience you have, if you don't mind, please, throw us a little
just
cash our
buy
way.
the damn game, people. It's Pavlov.
I know, for real.
It's pretty fun. We're not asking a very high commanding price for the amount of hours that you're probably going to get a value out of it. Probably the best dollar to entertainment value you'll see in a while.
I mean, dude, people play Pavlov forever. Like I was saying earlier, the game initially comes out in 2017, and since then, people have just been playing Pavlov, and I feel like that must have been a contributing factor to your guys's confidence in being okay with splitting your player base between Sony and PC and Quest, because some games literally cannot afford to do that. They do not have the community. One would just be a ghost town while the other one, was where everybody was hanging out. But everybody who's in VR right now knows that the Quest platform is easily the most widely adopted one. So I have to imagine that you guys are seeing Pavlov Shack as I don't know, maybe a little bit of your baby, I mean, what kind of install base difference are we looking at here between the Sony and the PC crowd and the Quest crowd?
Right. So Quest is a far away, I want to say 1,000% crowd difference. It's literally a 1-to-10 ratio, at least what we've seen so far. But it's really hard to kind of quantify those metrics because we never asked any money for the Quest platform. So we're charging for high-end equipment, and we're asking for an actual retail price. And we have not done that for the lower end mobile equipment where everything is all standalone, and you could literally buy a Quest and immediately download Pavlov, and it's just part of, we're not asking for money quite yet, but now we are. So it's kind of hard to kind of really quantify the differences between the two, but Quest is quite a runaway success, and I think it's going to take a while for the actual gaming industry as a whole at large to kind of understand the gravity of how much hardware is out there in the wild right now.
Yeah.
It's really difficult to get mainstream attention for the VR industry. It's really a battle of VR is great, and I know a lot of people that are in this industry kind of already realize that, but you'll still encounter people in the wild that are VR, oh, didn't that die 20 years,
It's so strange.
in the 90s.
I'll never understand that.
They tried to do this Oculus thing, and Oculus doesn't exist anymore, but Meta rebranded. So
yeah, it's messed up.
Yeah, so bizarre. Real quick, there is a link to pre-order this in the description below, so you can click there, click the pre-order link, grab your discount and your exclusive skins now, and have a blast once it comes out.
Boom.
Maybe practice a little with the App Lab version, so you don't get spanked too bad when you get in there.
Oh yeah, well that's interesting, right? Because there will be people who join because it didn't exist on the official store before.
Oh, absolutely.
But you will also be losing some core hardcore players who are like, you know, maybe some kids and they don't have $20 in their wallet. You know what I mean?
True. Yeah.
So until mom and dad can buy them a game, they might be SOL and playing Gun Raiders or Rec Room or whatever. You know what I mean? So that is interesting. I am really excited to see kind of how that unfolds for you guys. But I think one thing that we can all kind of agree on is that we're not exactly like worried about Pavlov, you know, like I said earlier, like this game keeps people coming back. And as we watch first person shooters come and go, I'm curious, like, how have you guys gotten to where you are? Like, what is it about the game that you've made that you think keeps people playing year after year after year?
That's a very easy question for me to answer. So right now we're a studio, right? But we didn't start out that way, and I say we, it wasn't just we, it was Dave. So Dave is currently our CEO. Dave Vills, he started the game as a solo project. It was just him for quite a few years, since the initial release on PC in 2017. But he was still working on the game like long before that. Onward was the first to the punch as far as a multiplayer FPS title that didn't kind of rely on if you guys remember when VR was first coming into the forefront, they're like, oh, teleportation, VR sickness. There was this big worry about, like, you cannot move the player without them getting sick. And that's still the case for a lot of like edge case, maybe 5% of the human. I don't know for sure, but there was a lot of worry about teleportation, being able to use smooth locomotion, as we call it now. And Onward was the first to do that. And then not too long after came Pavlov. And then Pavlov was just like a pet project with Dave. And he just kind of iterated. And there was this feedback loop when he started the Discord, where people that were fans, they would provide feedback, and then he would implement changes and ship them really quickly. And then it became the topic of allowing community content. Mods and community content, they're very prolific in VR right now, but they weren't before. It was really, Pavlov was the first title to say, hey, if you've got something you want to make, you can put it in the game. Just a simple environment. The blueprint logic came after, and that was something you can do natively in Unreal Engine. It's a visual scripting language where you don't have to be that heavy of a programmer. It'll take a little bit of learning, but if you kind of put your head down and iterate, you can create some really unique and interesting content. It could be very high quality, or it could be low quality, goofy, you know, just funny. It doesn't matter.
Which is almost as effective sometimes.
Exactly. So it was just Dave for the longest time. But, you know, with the success came money. And then with money, you could either make the decision, well, I'm just going to retire, or I'll do something with it. And he chose the latter. He wanted to do something with it. He didn't want to just be like, okay, well, I'm good now. You know, he decided to found a studio. And that's when some of the early programmers and sound designers came in. That was before I came along. One of the first early hires was Adriano, one of our sound designers, and he's done fantastic work in the sound design. A lot of people comment about how high quality our sound design is, and that's the result of Adriana's work. And then came on Mark as well. Mark Day, he's our second in command, if you want to consider that, in terms of senior programmer. And he's been putting out a lot of work in, you know, resolving bugs, new features, and things like that. And he's been, you know, fostering all that for us. And so it really just spiraled into a company just based off the success of what Dave has previously built.
Sweet. Well, and let's learn a little bit more about you, Will. What was your VR moment when you were like, oh, holy crap, virtual reality is it, and I'm going to get involved? And how did you find yourself to come to work with the Pavlov team?
Okay. Well, VR as a medium, we have to go back to 1995.
Oh, well, okay.
In the mall.
Let's go.
They had a virtuality arcade set up. And it was exorbitantly expensive to use, but I begged and pleaded with my mom to let me play it, and she did. And it wasn't Dactyl Nightmare. I think it was Exoterra. I can't remember, but it was a mech game. I know Dactyl Nightmare is the virtuality famous title, and there's been a recreation of the actual game that's been made available. That's not what I played. I played this weird mech clone. It was a sit down, but I just was obsessed about it when I was a kid. And we all remember the Virtual Boy, and I tried the Virtual Boy at Blockbuster when they first used to start renting consoles out when they came out. But I stuck my eyes in there and I said, "This is a 3D Game Boy. This isn't VR." So I don't even like to consider Virtual Boy in any of these categories, because it was really just a 3D display that was red Game Boy. Mm-hmm. When it all boils down to that. So, but it was the virtuality system that ran on Amiga 3000 in the 90s that was just wow, this is the future. And then it died. Nothing happened since then. It was just this weird flash in the pan. It was this exorbitantly expensive piece of equipment that just didn't seem to have any sort of market viability. And that was it. But then the Oculus Rift came out in 2005, dev kit, DK1, this big splash. It had John Carmack of all people backing it. You're the guy that created Doom and Quake, and he's one of the front runners of it, behind Brandon Iribe, and Palmer Luckey. He was an unknown name, but he was he fostered the whole idea of this resurgence of VR. So that just lit up the sparks of my childhood again. And they're wait, they're bringing VR back? Are you kidding me? This is going to be amazing. So that was that was me and my personal experience. And when Pavlov came out, it was the workshop and the custom content that really hooked me. And the fact that it was as far as the gameplay loop of being able to kind of, some people kind of accuse us of being a bullet sponge title, but I don't really mean to talk trash about Onward, but the problem about Onward for me was it's a very hardcore game. You'll just die and you won't even know where it came from, how it happened. You have no chance to respond to it, and you're kind of standing waiting to respawn. And you're just, when you're standing in VR and waiting to respawn and watching other people play, you kind of start second guessing yourself. You're what am I doing with my life? I'm standing here with this equipment on my head. I'm not even playing right now. I haven't played in 30 minutes because every time the new round starts, I immediately die. And Onward is a fantastic game. I really don't mean to disparage it. It just wasn't for me because I wasn't skilled enough. I wasn't tactical enough to quite understand that specific genre of shooter. But with Pavlov, we got all these custom maps. There's deathmatch. There's the classic, gun game deathmatch. All that fun stuff was just you could easily just jump back in as soon as you died. So that's what kind of gripped me. And the fact that somebody could shoot you from behind, and the damage ratio kind of allows for you to be able to turn around and respond to it. Just so to have a really good volley back and forth, you either use the objects as cover, or you play your movement to the best of your ability. That's what really hooked me. So I got really involved with Pavlov, not at the very start, because there's a lot of people that came before me, but I got very involved in the Discord after that, because after I bought the HTC Vive, I was just like, this is all I ever want to do. Just because of that kernel of inception that happened in the mall in the 1990s, where I thought this was the future of gaming. So that's really where I came from. COVID happened. I lost my job at my current company that happened to have been a trade show focused company. So when it comes to COVID, like obviously there's going to have to be cuts that get made. So I lost my job, but I was speaking with Dave, and he had the need for a community manager, and that's sort of how I got brought on board, just to kind of help face the community and write some of the marketing materials. And as time went on, my roles I just started inheriting more responsibilities. So that's where it kind of brought me in. But I can't really stress enough like how important it was for Dave to kind of either take a chance on me, but also many people within the company, because half of the people within Vankrupt Games came from the modding community. Our senior programmer came from the modding community. He doesn't have, a pedigree and working at AAA studios or anything like that. He took a chance on Mark. He took a chance on me, a Mott Flyer. He took a chance on, and it's been nothing but successful. And we kind of feel very Valve-like in the sense where when Valve first started and they had Half-Life and Half-Life Deathmatch and all the mods that were coming out for Half-Life, they just started hiring mods like the modder community, and then they started working on Half-Life 2 in earnest.
Dude, I can't tell you how much I am loving to hear this right now. Like this, and if you're out there like wondering how you get involved in the VR space, like rewind that and listen to it again. Because I couldn't tell you how many examples of exactly what you're talking about right now, Will, that I have seen happen in the VR space, where passionate community members join the Discord, and a year later they have a community manager role, or they are creating custom content, or they're doing it like even like Beat Saber. Like the Beat Saber mapping team is all taken from the modding scene. Like it is incredible. So if you're out there and you have a lick of skill for anything, like writing copy or being a community manager or coding or writing programs or software or graphic design or whatever, like if you know how to do anything and you are interested in virtual reality games, the industry, whatever, like start joining some Discords and start showing people how passionate you are about this, because opportunity might come. And then before you know it, you'll be like Will, who has so many responsibilities at his job that he doesn't even know what his title is. It's great.
That's true.
I love this story too, because I love where you came from, Will, with playing the virtuality system and or virtuosity, and then all of a sudden, becoming obsessed with it. That's exactly what happened to me. But for me, it was Dactyl Nightmare. But I do know the mod game, the mech game you're talking about as well. And I saw that, and I was like, oh my god, the future's now. It's here. And then 25 years later,
I know.
But that's where it started, man. That really, that lit a fire in my mind as well. And then VR was just on my mind until recent day. And as soon as that happened, I was in. I didn't care about anything else. I was like, this is the industry I work in now. They don't know it, but that's what's happening. So good stuff.
Do you feel like you're pretty acclimated to all of this by now, Will, or are you like me and like every now and then you kind of have to pinch yourself and be like, holy crap, like am I actually this involved in all of this amazing stuff? Like this is amazing.
Oh yeah. I'm holding meetings with PlayStation partners and Meta, and it's really hard to believe that I'm making I'm cutting deals with like platform holders that involves like quite a bit of responsibility. So it's very unreal, quite a lot of the times. But I'm certainly like I consider myself very lucky and to be in this wonderful sort of medium. Like I've always loved games, and you hear about how like working in the game industry, at least for AAA titles, can be very soulless. But we're kind of like in this very startup environment, and we don't want to stop there. Obviously, the company wants to grow, but we kind of want to reject the idea of corporate structure. I was speaking with our director of 3D art, and that was a really hard, difficult conversation to bring up when it comes to kind of delivering and creating assets. And I'm like, well, do we want to consider, pulling some of these like go-to-market meetings and what do they call it? Anyways, but like a lot of these like Silicon Valley processes, and I joke about myself being a Scrum Lord because we don't technically work in Agile, but we do kind of have a weekly process and iterate, and yeah, I'm kind of going off on a tangent here, but to answer your question, yeah, it's very still unreal to me. I do have to pinch myself here.
Yeah, right. I mean, yeah, anytime you're like, oh wait, am I actually talking to PlayStation right now? Like that's a pretty cool moment. And by the way, just to get some clarification on the PlayStation side of things, you mentioned earlier that it's difficult to make community content and mods and stuff like that happen on PlayStation, but
right.
I just want to reiterate, you are, however, still committed to making sure that that's the case, right? Like we will see the mods, or do we not know? Or
okay. No. We do have plans for future PlayStation content. It's very difficult because you're dealing with a closed platform, and I don't mean that in a bad way, but they have to protect their system. And so when it comes to the mod kit itself, PlayStation doesn't want to expose their console that could be used for, exploitation, in the sense that previously has unlocked piracy, running unsigned code, which means, being able to hack games. So they're very, very protective of their system architecture. And that's a really hard thing to build a mod kit for when you basically ship Unreal Engine like raw, in its most raw form. Just about. We're kind of limited to blueprints, but you kind of have to compile and expose binaries in order to build for a certain platform. So there's a lot of complication involved in trying to create custom content. If it was a simple matter of just creating a model and letting that become a mod, that's very easy to do. It already exists on PlayStation. PlayStation has been more embracing to the modding community more lately ever than before. I think there's like a farm simulator mod that where you can, there's just tons of different things that you can kind of download and use. But we have like custom logic, custom game modes. We don't want to restrict the freedom to just maps.
Yeah.
And that causes more complication because just the functionality of how the engine works and how our mod kit works. So it's very, very difficult. So we will come up with a solution. We will provide content. I know we're slow on providing that content, but we're still, it may not seem like that from the outside, but we're still kind of a scrappy startup, and we're handling and juggling multiple platforms. So it's like plate spinning.
Yeah.
You gotta give attention to one and then to the other. When we launched PlayStation in February of this year, a lot of people in the Shaq community thought we're abandoning Shaq. We don't care about mobile. It's very easy to feel that way, but it's just that because we're using multiple versions in different environments, it's a little bit more difficult than a fully cross-play environment that all platforms can enjoy. So it's kind of just like just a lattice of complexity that we have to navigate.
Yeah,
and we have to do that in the most efficient way possible.
And that's all stuff that like us as gamers and consumers are very rarely privy to. Like gamers have very high expectations. Like even if they have an understanding that these things aren't easy, they don't care. they're like, yeah, I know that's hard, but I want it, so give it to me. And
so true, right?
like that puts you guys in a weird spot because like at the end of the day, you want to give it to me, and it's just not as easy as that sometimes. And yeah, I can imagine it can be quite straining to try to meet the expectations of all of these users all the time.
And I get it. You know, it's our update cycle hasn't been quite as great as it used to be. We had an engine upgrade last year where the entirety of the year, it just was a complete mess. The engine was a mess. OpenXR, the API was a mess. And, you know, we're not trying to point fingers at certain vendors and partners, but it's just like it wasn't ready. And that's not what we were led to believe. And it just... that was a really, really, really bad year for us. We lost a lot of ground, a lot of goodwill, and it got to a point where it's like we have to continue onward because we can't just revert all the work that we've done because we fixed so many bugs, like a laundry list of bugs. And it's really funny how you get it from both ends. It's like you either add features or you fix bugs, and you'll see feedback of somebody that's like, this bug still exists, and it's like, well, we fixed that bug like 6 months ago. Like, have you read the patch notes? The patch notes can be a laundry list of items. I understand, like, you don't want to read all that, you know, I ain't reading all that kind of meme, but we did address it, but it's you know, it's an awareness issue. And so right now we're not trying to tack on more and more things because we really want to make the gameplay as solid as possible. So we've been tackling a lot of the bugs, the issues, the minor things, the exploits. Oh my gosh. We've had to do so much to our movement in order to neuter it so that we have a really highly competitive community, and those folks will use everything to their ability to gain a competitive advantage. Yeah. And it comes to the detriment a lot of times about how the gameplay feels, but we can't allow it to be abused. There was a rumor of a person that had a zip line in his basement in order to gain a unfair advantage in the game. Like, if you can imagine a person in a zip line pushing across like their basement in order to kind of get out of spawn very, very early, or to anti-play space.
Wow. That is
themselves
epic,
around.
Honestly.
Gamer goals.
Level of dedication of the competitive community, and, you know, more power to them. We're not like upset or anything, but that's the level of dedication some of these people take with like how serious they want to win. And that's totally understandable. We're gonna respond to that, and we have. So we get a lot of flack about how movement feels since we've shipped that update, but we had to do that because people were abusing it at a very high scale.
Yeah, and honestly, at the end of the day, balance, it just is paramount. Like, the game has to be balanced. Like, you can't be privy to some unintentional exploit that I'm not privy to, because now there's no balance anymore. Like, the game's broken, you know, for all intents and purposes. And if you're a competitive gamer like I am, that's going to be a huge issue. You know, like, I'm not going to play Pavlov if I know that half of the community knows exploits that I don't, and I'm just getting dropped left and right. So I agree with your perspective, and I think that that is the right move, even if, you know, some of your player base is like, wow, it doesn't feel exactly the same.
Yeah, you have to. You definitely have to. I just want to say real quick, thank you to Laszlo 216 for the super chat. Appreciate you. He says to check your subscription, folks. YouTube dropped his, and I have been hearing a lot of channels that people are just getting unsubscribed. So if you could just real quick go in there and just make sure that subscribe button's still lit up, that'd be awesome. And thank you, Laszlo, for the donation. Appreciate you.
Like and subscribe, people. Do it. Subscribe or die.
So one of the things that I really, really love about Pavlov, and I feel like it sets it apart from a good majority of the competition, is the weapons. You need to know how these guns work in order to become efficient in reloading and learning to use the weapons. And if you don't know the weapon, the first time you grab a weapon, you might die more because you don't know exactly how to load it.
You will die more.
You try to figure out, you're in a firefight, you're trying to figure out how to load the weapon, right? But I feel like they're pretty true to real life. At least the guns that I have actually used in real life and the ones I've used in Pavlov have been pretty spot on. And yeah, I live in Arizona, so I get to play with some real guns, which is nice. But what goes into creating a weapon system like this? Do you guys live at the firing range? Are you renting all of the weapons that you put in the game to see how they work and how they reload correctly and all of this stuff? What's the formula there for you guys?
I mean, a lot of research goes into the weapon behavior. It's not performed out of a vacuum. We try to make it as true to life as possible, as well as the kind of recoil system. We get a lot of flack for having really crazy recoil. Part of that is for the balance, but another part of that is if you fire a AK-47 full auto, you're not going to be able to control it that well. I don't care how cool or muscly or badass you are. Not an easy weapon to control. So we get a lot of flack for having really wild recoil. But at the same time, our recoil system is quite complicated. After much time spent in using our title, you can kind of use that to kind of predict the recoil pattern, and a lot of the competitive community does do that.
So they'll counter move based on the pattern that they know certain guns have in the recoil? Right,
exactly. Well, not quite as accurate as that, but we kind of start with the baseline of the weapon model. We don't do weapons one-to-one. We're worried about legal implications, and that's why there's no actual weapon names in the game itself. When we use developer Archon commands, because you can host a dedicated server and issue commands to the server to spawn weapons on a certain player. If you're a modder, you can issue commands to spawn a certain weapon in a specific volume, whatever the case may be. We don't use official brand names purposely because we don't want to run into legal issues. But the same way with our weapon design, we get a lot of flack with kind of our weapon models themselves because they're not one-to-one, but we don't want to kind of run into some of the legal issues that the AAA community has run into. I think Call of Duty had this long-standing legal battle with Hummer over the use of the Humvee.
Wow.
We just don't want to deal with that. We don't want to risk it, so we don't make things one-to-one. But what we will do is take several models of the same family and make a Frankenstein model out of it. And we'll try to be very, very accurate. But the absolute gun nuts are going to say, this is wrong, this doesn't make any sense. But that's a very purposeful thing for us because we don't want to risk getting into any legal trouble. It's just not worth it for us. Are we going to the gun range? No, not really, actually. Companies based in Canada. Canada is not as weapon friendly as the US, so it's not as accessible, especially with automatic weapons and things like that. You have civilian models, of course, but it's not something you can really judge. But it's really based on the gameplay loop, the time to kill. You want to have volleys back and forth between players. You don't want it to just be one or two bullets and that encounter is over. We don't find that to be that entertaining. A lot of games choose to do that, and for the hardcore gunplay fan base, that's absolutely a viable thing. But for us, we kind of prefer the other end of the spectrum. We'll run the gameplay loop on a more arcadey setting.
Yeah.
So, you'll eat some bullets into your armor, but you'll still be prone to a headshot. If you get shot in the head with a low caliber pistol, your helmet's going to eat that damage. It's not going to be an instant kill. But you will lose that helmet damage, and, the next headshot after that, that'll be the end of you.
Yeah.
But we also like to provide, the last bullet that killed you, the gun angle, you'll see where it came from. You'll know what happened. You'll know how it happened, and you can kind of incorporate that into your future strategies.
Yeah, I think you guys have really hit a good balance of the realism, like needing to like actually reload weapons and stuff. It's not like a button press reload or anything, but not just like being evaporated by something and having no clue what happened to you, like I personally do like to kind of get in there and exchange blows a little bit, and I also like simulators and realism too, but most of the time with a first person shooter, I think a little bit of wiggle room, some bullet sponginess actually does go a long way. So, and I think that's probably one of the reasons why so many people keep coming back to Pavlov. It's like a new first person shooter comes out and they get in there and they're like, yeah, it's cool, but it's just not as fun, So I'm going back to the thing that's really fun. And I haven't played Pavlov on PlayStation VR 2 yet. I
haven't either, and I've heard amazing things.
Yeah, I would love to, especially because the PlayStation VR 2 has, haptics in the headset. It has the adaptive triggers and the controllers. These are like options that just simply don't exist in other places. And I'm wondering, Will, do you think that the PlayStation VR 2 version of Pavlov is the like quintessential, like most complete, best version of it? Or are you going to grab a Quest because you like to be wireless? Like, where's the best place to play Pavlov right now?
Well, in terms of haptics, PSVR 2 takes the cake.
Yeah.
You've got the adaptive triggers. You've got the headset feedback. We spend a lot of time profiling the weapons to be unique to each gun, as far as the adaptive haptics in the triggers.
Nice.
And it's got the eye tracking too. They kind of urged us like, hey, do a lot with the eye tracking. And we're like, what are we going to do with it? So we just kind of made it move the character's eyes, and that's replicated in multiplayer. So
that's fun.
You can kind of move your eyes around,
cool.
and other players can see it. It's a very, very minor detail. But it is there. We added that functionality. To the same effect, if your microphone's in use, you're going to chin wag a bit. If you don't have eye tracking, we built a system where if you've got several people in a circle, because we do have TTT, which is a very social and casual game mode, which requires a lot of communication. But if you have a player that's speaking, those players are going to move their eyes to the player that's speaking predominantly. And It's a very, very subtle thing. But it's there and it exists, but it's so compelling. We had our tech artists come in and make the player's eyes like furrow and blink and just like act very, very human and natural. So if you're on the PlayStation spectrum and haptics is like your jam, that's where you want to go. But if you're into the modding community and the modding content, like you definitely want to be on either Quest or the PC, because that accesses and unlocks so much in the modding community. And I do want to iterate, like we've been working internally with some very special modders that have been prolific in our community for quite a while. And we're working on this mod kit 3.0. And that's basically, we find this to be a very massive like feature that we've worked on, because previously you've had to build your mod self-contained into a map, and it wouldn't apply anywhere else except for that map. You would have to, it's a pain to kind of share that content. Say if you create a custom game mode and another modder wants to use your game mode, you kind of have to like give them the source of your files. You have to share the project with them. They have to incorporate in there, and they don't know what this plugs into and that plugs into, and they have to like go and ask them like, why isn't this working for me? We've kind of like, we're breaking everything apart now. So you don't have to build everything in your map. You could build everything separate and standalone. So you can create a custom gun pack You know, people ask for new guns in Pavlov all the time, but it's like I feel like people asking for new content as far as weapons don't really kind of quite realize the implications when it comes to balance, because everything is balanced around search and destroy, and that is a very easy thing to break. And since we have a competitive community, if we have a weapon that's like far and away overpowered, it's gonna shine like no other, and it just breaks the game. And we've had to respond to that. I know I'm rambling. I'm sorry.
No, I'm here for it.
We've had to respond to overpowered weapons. We kind of neuter them a bit. We nerf them. Minor backlash, but as a whole, it doesn't seem to be that big of a deal. It almost asks for it, but we're now at a place where if you want to have guns, like you can now make guns. Well, not quite now because we haven't released the new mod kit yet. There was a really old way of implementing custom guns. It carries a lot of friction, but this new system that we've kind of developed, we're calling it ModKit 3.0. Way much easier than before. And if you run a dedicated server and you're running your own community, you can now just like, if somebody creates a mod pack, you could just install that on your server and just run them. It'll show up in your buy menu. It'll almost be like vanilla content. And we're really proud of that. We can't wait to see it out in the wild. It's going to have so many implications in the future for content and how like modded content happens. That's probably our biggest like feature that we're proud of.
Hell yeah. What are you like projecting content for release time for that? Like when is that going to come out?
So the mod kit for Shack, which will be mobile, will be coming out very soon. It might come out a little bit before launch, but around that time. So November 14th, it's definitely going to be out in the wild.
Cool.
As far as PC, that might come a little bit later because right now we're all in on shipping and launching on the store in Shack. So like that's where all our efforts are in, everybody in the team, with the exception of our 3D modelers. Because right now our 3D modelers are working on 3 maps that are going to show up in PC, PlayStation, and those are going to be really highly detailed. So they're taking a lot of time and effort. And I can't wait to show them off. But we're going to do that after the launch for Shack right now. So as far as getting the mod kit out for mobile, it's going to happen sooner than it will for PlayStation, or I'm sorry, PC. And then PlayStation, of course, will come later. Yeah,
Sweet.
We're looking at November 14th at the very latest. It might come a little bit earlier, but PC is not going to be too far after.
Nice. Hell yeah. That sounds good. Yeah. I mean, that's great, right? It's ready when the game comes out. So once people get in and they get hooked, they'll have access to the modding stuff. And that's great.
So wild to me because Pavlov probably has as far as what I've seen, has pretty close to the most ways to play a game that I've ever seen. So just stock out of the box, this thing has team deathmatch, it has zombies, it's got World War II mode, it has gun game and prop hunt and search and destroy and hide and TTT and a shooting range, and then you throw mod support on top of that. Like it already has incredible mechanics and has all of these ways to play, which most games are like, all right, here's 1 or 2 things that you can do. But Pavlov is pretty much unlimited. You could play this game all the time and play a different game mode, and it just doesn't get stale.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that's one of the reasons why it continues to stay alive through all of these years, is it just keeps getting more and more content and more ways to play and more maps and more guns. And like, it's just mind blowing to me, the amount of work that's gone into this. And to top it off with that nice cherry of these mods.
Yeah.
Is just,
it is great.
Bravo. Right.
It is great. And it really sounds like everybody at Vankrupt Games is all in on Pavlov. Like, do you guys talk about other projects? Are there any like things that you guys kind of work on the side? Or is this like Pavlov all in for now kind of thing?
Right. We're all in for Pavlov right now. We've got some ideas kicking around the office for future content. Some early stuff has been worked on in that sense. But you know, when Dave first created Pavlov, he kind of had an idea of like what he wanted to see it as the final version. So we've got some promises that we want to fulfill before we consider taking on new projects. But new projects are something that we're kind of looking at and what we really want to do. We really want to start with a new foundation because the code base right now, as it is, was originated since 2016. Over all these years, a lot of technical debt has been kind of inherited, and it's become quite complex. And new methods and new ways of implementation, especially in VR, have happened since then through all these engine upgrades, etc. And so we kind of would love to start with a fresh slate, and that would be the basis of like how we want to kind of continue. One of the big kind of criticisms we have is like our weapons don't collide with the environment. And sure, we could implement that, but you're breaking the muscle memory of a lot of people, especially in the competitive community, whether they want it or not. But a lot of the people don't want to, like, don't mess with it. Like, what we have now is great. Like, don't mess with it too much. Just fix the bugs. Like, so as far as like trying to implement weapon collision with the environment, that's probably not going to happen in Pavlov's lifetime. However, like in future titles, that's definitely something we will want to consider and try to get everything up to modern standards, just so that we can continue to, you know, just like push this industry forward, you know.
Oh yeah.
Create this like feedback loop where, you know, if you guys keep loving us, we'll keep trying to make it better, for worse.
Amen. Well, people keep loving you for some reason, and some of the reasons I think that we've identified during this conversation. People just love Pavlov, man. You know, I have friends like E for P, Eric for President. You know, like this is a guy who's played 1 million first-person shooters and even works for Population 1. But I bet you, if you were like, "Hey, what game should we play tonight?" Pavlov's going to be near the top of his list.
Yeah.
You know?
Or we'll be out doing a gaming convention where we'll have all of these VR stations set up, demoing games with all kinds of headsets. And the only thing you'll ever hear from someone that has, like, most people still haven't heard of VR, but they come over, and the people who have will always come over and say, "Hey, you guys got Pavlov?"
It's
literally the only game that people come over and ask for by name. That, you know,
and
like,
Gorilla Tag.
And Gorilla Tag. Yeah, but as far as like, yeah, definitely. But Pavlov is still the most, you know. And then they're like, "All right, no, we don't have Pavlov." Well, why not?
Yeah.
It's like,
listen, go buy a Quest, okay? It's coming to the official store November 14th.
You come demo to someone that's never played VR before how to reload 72 different weapons.
I died so hard the first time I played Pavlov. Like,
I know, right?
I'm not very good
Worth
at that
it,
game.
though.
All right, so
But it's important that you could respawn, though, right? And then
and keep trying over. Yes,
amen.
Keep trying.
Amen. Yeah, I remember I was like grabbing footage for the bHaptics integration of Pavlov back in the day,
which is awesome.
I died so much. Like I was just like trying to get a kill, and like I was just getting dropped left and right.
Hey, but at least you could feel where it was coming from.
That I could. Yeah, it was just always here. just the face haptics constantly. So listen, we've talked a lot about Pavlov. We've mentioned a lot about it. You know, we've asked our questions, but I'm wondering, Will, is there anything that you're thinking about on your side that we haven't gotten to yet about either you, about the game, about the studio, that you think is like really important, or some low-hanging fruit, something that you want to get out there, some, you know, like FAQ kind of thing, anything at all about this game that we haven't gotten to yet that you want to mention before we wrap this up?
Absolutely. So Butt or something asked for is this Butt a picture?
Butt or something.
It's a great avatar,
they're asking
right?
about a hardcore game mode. Like that's already like happened. So it's not public, but like I've said before about this new mod kit, there's a lot you could do, and it could apply to other people. Like there's cross functionality. I can't iterate how big of a deal the mod kit that we've been working on is going to just like really change kind of the way things work now. A lot of criticisms about like, our current mod structure. It should resolve a lot of people and their concerns. So they asked for like a hardcore game mode that already exists and internally for us and in our internal team that we've been working with the community on. It reduces the TTK, and if that's all you're looking for, it's there. You can run it, and then. But what's really cool is if you run your own private community, you can stack mods on top of each other. So you could take a gun pack from Golden, for example, and then you could take a gun pack from Kenneth, and you can combine them in your server and run them all at the same time. Wow. And then you can run this crop duster mod from this one guy where the players fart every 30 to 60 seconds, and then there's a fart particle effect that comes out of their butt, and then it kind of launches the player in the air.
You hear that, Butter Something? This is your mod, Butter Something.
It is. Oh my god.
Wait, Butter Something, is that your mod?
No,
it should be though.
But he's a butt.
He's a butt, so it makes all the sense in the world, right?
Did he make the butt map? There's a
no, I don't think he made any maps on here, did he?
On our game called the butt map, and the actual picture that Butter Something has is like the thumbnail for.
No way.
Oh, let's see. He did mention that he took a couple hours and learned how to get a map in there and put
is
something
that your
in.
stuff,
Let's see.
Butt?
Is the butt map yours?
Butter Something.
There's a bit of a delay on the stream, so let's see.
Yeah,
let's see what he says.
For those that don't know, there's this map called the butt map, and it's just like this weird, like intricate map where on the surface it's like a fine like deathmatch map, but you can find all these weird kind of Easter eggs and locations on the map that do weird things. There's like a ball pit, and it plays Sir Mix-a-Lot's
Baby
I Like Big Butts.
Yeah.
And then like halfway through the gameplay session, Thomas the Choo Choo Train comes through and just like bursts through the map and kind of runs over players. I'm curious if that's him, the original creator of that. But
that sounds hilarious.
Anyways,
I got to get in there and try that.
It's pretty funny. There's so much goofy content. One thing that we saw was a Sisyphus simulator. It's really you just trying to struggle to push a rock up a mountain. That's literally the game mode. Another one I think was a Napoleon simulator, and you just sit exiled on an island, and that's all the mod is. It's really fun to see sort of the output that players have had, and we've got vehicles in the game, and they're starting to mod vehicles. There's a Pavlov cart mod out there, so people can take items, like they'll run over a track, they'll pick up items, and they'll use those items against other players.
Wow.
So just sky's the limit.
Awesome.
Like we love our modding community. A lot of people tell us modders could do so much better than we could, and we agree. Like modders can iterate on such a much more rapid pace than we ever could. Just because there's so many of them. There's so many people that want to create, and we want to foster that. And that's something that we're not really talking about and marketing too much for the release of Pavlov Shack, but it's a really hard thing to market, and that's what I would like to iterate once again how important it is for us to have this new mod kit out.
Dude, well, and then like if you're someone who mods, you are so damn passionate. Like anybody who's playing a game and they're like thinking to themselves, this would be so cool if I could just this, like, and then they say, you know what, screw it, I'm gonna go do that. Like the amount of like care and love that is going into that project is, you're not gonna be able to find that anywhere else. Like this is someone who gives a shit. Like they care. They're like, I want to make this game better, and I'm going to use all of my skills possible to do so. And that becomes their little project, their little painting, and it's hard to find that level of like of passion about something out there.
It is to do all that work and not get paid for it, right? I mean,
they do
absolutely.
it just because they love
do it because they love the game and it's something they want to see. And I think that's awesome. And I love the modding community. And I think it brings so much to every game that has ever implemented a modding system. It just extends the life of the game. It brings all kinds of new and fun things and challenges and ways to play. And I'm really, really excited for this to be implemented. I can't wait to dig into it myself.
Yep. Sweet.
Absolutely.
Well, I mean, I guess that's probably about it. You know what I mean? We're getting to that point. Will, this was great. Thank you so much for
having me.
answering all of our questions and giving us such like robust responses to everything. It's clear that you are still a passionate Pavlov player, even though you're a part of the team. And I think that is only going to work for our benefit as gamers, you know, like a passionate team making an amazing project. And here we are, you know, 6 years later, and Pavlov is still kind of up there, you know, carrying the flag for everybody. So please keep up the good work, and we'll go ahead and tell everybody on your behalf to buy this game when it comes out on the 14th, because it stood the test of time.
Pre-order it now, get 25% off.
Boom.
And you get some cosmetics. Like, there's so much incentive there. Biggest discount for pre-orders that Meta has ever seen. So $15, that's all we're asking. You know, it's not a big deal. Good pre-order.
That's huge.
They gave it to you for free for a long time. How about you proactively pay for the years that you spent?
$15 for years of entertainment, 9 different game modes, including.
By the way, y'all, this is not a sponsored episode.
No, it's not.
Just so you know. Yeah, this is not sponsored.
Are we supposed to pay you, or do you pay us?
Yeah, checks in the mail, right? Yeah. We'll discuss later. But no, Will, seriously, this was really awesome. Thank you for answering the call. You know, we were able to kind of put this episode together on pretty short notice. I remember last week we told everybody we're going to be talking to Resolution Games this week. We didn't. We're talking to Pavlov this week. So there it is. Amazing. But Will, you're the real deal, dude, and you know, we're very excited for the release of Pavlov Shack on the Quest, and we'll be rooting for you, and we'll check back in with you when the time is right.
All right, thanks for having me.
Of course. All right, everybody, say goodbye to Will, and we're gonna get rid of him. And bye, Will.
See you, Will. Bye.
And he's gone, and that is that.
And there he goes.
And that was our last official guest of season 7 of Between Realities.
Man. Wow, 7 seasons.
I know.
7 seasons of amazing VR guests and all of the people that make this industry what it is. It's been so rad.
However, really will we celebrate our season finale?
What if? What if we let the community come on and say hello and talk about stuff right on the show with us?
Boom.
What do you think about that?
I think that's a great idea.
I think so too.
You know, previously we kind of like scheduled these, you know, and like, figured out who's interested and kind of tried to arrange it ahead of time so that way we could be organized in our approach and keep things clean and nice and give everybody enough time to talk and all that. But I really don't see that happening this year. I don't know about you.
Man, I don't know if it could work without that, to be honest. I don't even know. We could try it, and it might be a, you know.
We can make it work.
I don't know. It might be a show. I don't know.
I think we could make it work. It would be really cool if while we're going live, someone can just send you a DM and be like, hey, I'm ready. And then you can be like, all right, cool. And grab them and rip them.
Yeah, we'll see. Let's try it out.
If we have to drag some screens around a little, whatever. It's the season like, this is all just about making this easy for our community to join us, right? Like, that's when I want to make it happen. So
Alex loves doing this stuff because he doesn't handle any of the technical stuff. So he's like, no problem.
We'll do it.
You can do it.
But that's, unless you want, maybe we'll mobilize on Monday and make a big push or something.
We'll see. But if you do want to be a guest, come on over, hit us up in the Discord, whatever, and pop in and say hi. You 5 minutes, 10 minutes, something like that. You want to pop in and say hello to the community, and that would be awesome.
We'd
love to see you and meet you.
That's really all it is. And like, it's not just like those of you who are working on a VR project, those of you with a channel, like just like everybody, like if you've been listening to the show for a while and you've never had a chance to connect with us, we've never met in person, whatever, like jump in here, like let's introduce you to the community. Ask us some questions about stuff. Like, let's dive in and let's just celebrate another amazing season of the best damn VR podcast.
They will have to friend me on Discord. beforehand. So if you are thinking about this, send a friend request to Skiva on Discord. Do mention who you are, because I get an insane amount of spam and bots and cons and stuff. So be like, hey, Between Realities fan, or like, VR community member here. And then, you can pop in on the show if you'd like. I think that would be rad. So.
Cool. Yeah. And, we'll make an announcement and we'll push it on social media and we'll do all of that. Yeah. So there will be some reminders here. But the idea, again, is just that we want you to join us for the last episode. We'll probably rip through, 10 people or something like that. Yeah. So,
because at the end of the day, this is all about you guys, right? Like, without you guys, there are no gamers. There is no one to carry this technology forward. There's no one to play this stuff and buy the headsets and the games, and so it's all about you guys. Yeah. And we'd love to highlight you.
For real. Yeah. Otherwise, Skiva and I would just be screaming into the void. We want to, you guys are all a part of this, so come be a part of it for realsies. But otherwise, that's going to be it. A week from today, we'll do our last season finale of season 7, and then we'll be gone for at least 2 months. Mm-hmm. At least.
Yeah, I know. Dang, man.
I know.
I hate those breaks. I love them for like a week, and then I'm like, oh, yeah. Who do I scream to about all this stuff? Who do I talk to?
I know, man.
Oh, man.
I know. Well, listen, let's wrap this up.
Let's do it.
Thanks again to everybody who has tuned in and been a part of our live broadcast here on YouTube. Butter Something, my wife Brittany popping in here right at the end. Hello, dear. Hussein X and Duggars, Red/Ace and Kenzie Gaming and Substatica. I saw Oscar W squeeze in here earlier. Amelia Faust, Laszlo 216 hitting us with the super chat. Thomas McNostril, Michelle B, and Chris Hanney. Yeah, dude. No, all y'all, Jenna Sequa earlier, Michelle B again, ePilot 007. We love all of you guys. Thank you for being here and being a part of this. And that's about it, right? I'm going to be trying to game this weekend, so join our Discord server in the link below and hit me up. If you play Gran Turismo, definitely hit me up, because that's all I want to really do right now. And that's about it, huh?
Yeah, it is. I won't be gaming much this weekend, but I might be on late nights playing some Pavlov.
Word.
So, yep.
Word. Hell yeah. Sweet. All right, everybody. Well, have a great weekend, and we will see you on Friday for our season finale next week. And that's that.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.